family, to a new episode of Transformed and Renewed Light. And I like to call it light because it's going to be a short piece, but some say you should celebrate it, Christians. Some say you shouldn't celebrate it, it's demonic, whatever the case is. And so I like to take a different approach still with a biblical perspective. So just off the bat, thinking about Halloween and just kind of doing some third is typically where Halloween occurs. So on this day, 31st of October, is several elements, I guess you could say. One is essentially where summer is becoming winter. So it's the end of summer, or the spirits of the dead are essentially house to house getting food, blessings. Trick or treating later in Americas where that became more prominent. And then the bobbing of apples. So this is where people would take apples in and get the apples. Now this was also another ritual and this was the goddess of agriculture. Okay, this is essentially where people were trying to have good fortune, or at least a good report in terms of their relationship. So if you were single, trying to bob for an apple, you were essentially trying to increase your chances of being with someone in a good relationship. Again, there's more context to that, but that's essentially the high review when it comes to Halloween. Now, when we look at it from the Roman Catholicism perspective, the 31st, also known as All Hallows Eve, okay? Now, this is a vigil preparing for November 1st, which is All Saints Day. Now, this is in regards to those who did something extraordinary when it comes to the saints or martyrs for the faith. Then on the 2nd of November, you have what is known as All Souls Day. This is anybody else who is a believer. If you didn't do anything extraordinary, you were pretty much regarded on this day. Now, this is also where people pray for the dead, and they also honor people from the dead. And so these are different contexts when you think about the Celtic culture and then you think about Roman Catholicism. And then you have the question of America. I mean, you take what is seen in the Celtic culture, the Samhain, and you pretty much revise. People love candy, so that's going to be fun, going around from house to house. And then let's throw in some other elements, going to different haunted houses, trying to scare the lift or just the life out of you. And then just playing tricks, pranks on different people. And so when you think about that, that is more so of a juvenile mentality, the pranks and the things of that nature, not really regarding the holiness when it comes to God aspect. Because again, some people say, well, this is actually, still for God, but you never really see anything related to praising God. Now, you look at all of that and we go to the Bible and we have to ask the question, is this a holiday worth celebrating? What about it glorifies God? Now, some points when you come to the Roman Catholicism about, yes, we want to remember the saints, we want to thank God for all that he's done. That can become slightly blurry because when it comes to Roman Catholicism, there are a lot of teachings that are antithetical to the gospel, okay? So when we think about that from that perspective, we just have to line it up. It's not my word trying to say what it is, but we're just taking it actually line up. And if it doesn't, then that means that there's a problem. And so the question that I have for you is, why do you celebrate Halloween? Now that you know this brief information, what about it do you feel, especially if you're a Christian, glorifies God? When we think about darkness, does that glorify God in any way? The Bible talks about it over and over again. I want to say it's in 1 Timothy chapter 2, verse 9, but I could be wrong because I'm thinking about many different scriptures where it talks about, for God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power of love, sound mind. Some translations say self-control. But then we also go to Matthew chapter 5, where God calls us to be light and not to continue to walk in darkness. Then we look at Old Testament, Deuteronomy, where it talks about, not consulting mediums, soothsayers, necromancers, witches, anything from the occult where you're trying to get information, you are praying to the dead or you are praying for the dead, because there is no use at that point. Anyone who dies, what is the use of praying for them? They are either with God or they're not with God. Prayer at that point is doing nothing, because again, what can it really do at that point? Now, yes, while a person is alive, yes, we pray for them. We pray for souls to come to Christ. But after that point, it becomes useless. And so again, when you learn a lot when it comes to Halloween, you realize what is the purpose. And so you have so many different people, and I'm just going to go into a brief just to put some of these things into perspective, because I know that there's still some people that are saying that it's really not that big of a deal. Well, when you think about human trafficking, you think about child molestation, or a person that they know or see is on the news in an unfortunate situation. We're trying to start a GoFundMe, trying to do so many of these things. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but some things can be avoided if we really weren't so headstrong or hard-headed when it comes to, hey, do I need to avoid this or just not even do this or bring people to Christ? Now, I know that many different places, even churches, do something called a Harvest Fest, or they may have an alternative for it. And if you do so, hey, it's great, as long as it's going forth with it, trying to take something, because I'm too lazy to. It's on Patreon, where I share more content. One thing about me is I'm going to give you the best content that I can, research credible sources. Again, if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me. And if you have any health goals, struggling, I did a video on focus. If you are struggling with focus and time management, I do encourage you, again, to either join our Patreon membership or set up your one-to-one health coaching consultation with me, and we can start mapping out a plan as soon as this week. So be sure to do that, especially if you have some goals, you've been procrastinating, or you've been talking about, hey, I need to do X, Y, and Z, but you have not made that move, and you have somebody like me that's telling you, what are you going to do? So you have that opportunity to either A, sign up again for our Patreon at Robody1212, or you can join me for a one-to-one health coaching consultation. And where you can get information, go to our channel, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, even navigate to our Patreon at Robody1212. That will have some more links, or you can reach out to me directly, and I will provide that information